Time to dive into NBA All-Star Weekend 2025, and me and Josh are both not looking forward to this. I have never not looked forward to an NBA All-Star Weekend more. It's Saturday night. I'm gonna watch it because I know we're probably gonna talk about it here on Championship Rings. But I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to it at all. Uh, there's a couple Cavs players. I know Darius Garland is in the 3 point contest. I want to say some of the Cavs may be in the skills competition.
Yep, there
Um,
there is a team
okay,
Cavs. I think it's Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. Um, it'll be okay, but I respect Caitlin Clark's decision to not participate in like a 3 point contest. She wants to do her first All Star game with the WNBA in Indiana
which
next
she
season.
should. Um, now,
I
now, are they doing another NBA WNBA or no? It's just the 3 point contest this year,
It's
right?
just a 3 point contest,
Okay.
which for me that was my favorite part of All Star Weekend last year was Steph Curry against Sabrina Ionescu. So I was hoping something like that would happen. Maybe the rematch. If Caitlin Clark hadn't said that she was going to make her All Star debut for the WNBA, I would have said something like Steph and Sabrina against Clay Thompson and Caitlin Clark, something like that. Um, but like for the All Star game, they're going with this new 4 team format, which I, it's
So I'm assuming it's going to be two play two, the other two play two, and then the winners face off. Do we know like is there a point differential? Are these quarters? Like how long is it going to be?
I don't know all the rules on it. I I and honest to be honest with you, I don't care. Like
Are you going to be watching? I'm just going to throw that out there. It's okay if you say no. I'm not going to be mad at you.
I'll probably watch like the skills competition and the 3 point shootout. Do I care about the dunk contest though? No, because the dunk contest has been horrible for years. You want to know how you improve the dunk contest? I bet you that there are guys out on the streets right now who would put on an absolute show if you brought them in for the dunk contest. Maybe you have like you try and find you hold some type of competition, bring in some of the best dunkers, and like the top five or whatever qualify and get to All Star Weekend. Some of the top stars will sponsor them, and whoever wins gets like $1 million. Second place gets like 500,000, 750,000. Third place 500,000, so on and so forth. Then it would actually be fun to watch. But like, no, I don't care. The only other reason I'm gonna watch All Star Saturday Night is because AEW Grand Slam in Australia is gonna be following it.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But if that wasn't the case, no, I wouldn't. I would probably just watch skills competition and 3 point contest. Dunk contest is meaningless and pointless.
So I'm gonna do a full deep dive on Brandon's world. I'll spoil a little bit for you now here because I don't think we're gonna try to do all these topics on championship rings. I'm not gonna go over the NBA All Star Weekend in the entirety on Brandon's world. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a whole show, and it's gonna be my plan on how to fix the NBA in totality. One of them is All Star Weekend, and in my opinion, I think number one, this is the literal worst time of the year to have All Star Weekend. You are right after the Super Bowl. And with the NFL going to an 18 game schedule and it's going to seemingly be on President's Day anyway, the NBA is going to have to move the All Star game back. So, with that in mind, for me, if I'm the NBA, you do one of two things. You either A, move it back where you could move it to Pro Bowl weekend if you wanted to, because no one's going to watch the NFL Pro Bowl. Maybe you do like a Saturday night thing, maybe the game's on Saturday. I don't know, because they're certainly not going to abolish it. Or
They
B, like
should.
they should, honestly. I think that if you're going to play the game, I don't really care about this 14 format. Though I will say I'm interested to see if the competition is actually going to be competition
I don't
because
think so.
I think that will determine whether in the public perception dies if it's at least a miniature fix. I think last year's All Star game, if you remember how bad last year's game was, it was flat out embarrassing. Luka Doncic at one point took a half court shot that was like an air ball uncontested, and I literally turned the game off. I was like, there is absolutely. I mean, it was a layup line with usually in an All Star game, there's little to no defense. There was no little. There was zero defense in that game last year, which I think was a lot of people's biggest issue. Because even like the years they did the Kobe Bryant target score, that I always thought, okay, in the fourth quarter, because there's no clock, you're gonna get defense, and that's what we got.
Yeah. Um, as of right now, the 2026 All Star game is going to be at the Intuit Dome in LA, and then 2027 will be in Phoenix. So they're going to be staying out west for the next three All Star games. That's actually four. Let me think. Yeah, four of the last five All Star games have been out west because you had Salt Lake City. Now we're in Golden State. Then next year the Clippers, and then after that Phoenix. Um, but
Indiana was last year, right? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Indiana, right?
yes,
Yeah.
so that's the lone Eastern Conference team in
The,
this.
no disrespect to the Utah Jazz. Salt Lake City seemed like a weird place for All Star Weekend.
It's all Salt Lake City is a beautiful city. I've been out there.
Oh yes, I know it's a beautiful city, and I know they love their jazz. You can tell me more if you want. I'm just saying, from what I've heard, there's nothing to do in Utah.
Um, I didn't get to do a lot out there because my dad and I were out there for like a outdoor retailers convention or something. It just so happened to line up with coincidentally the Cavs playing the Jazz in Utah. It was Donovan Mitchell's return game actually
Right.
to the Jazz, so that was fun. But you know, they're, the NBA is going to be so dependent on Steph Curry to come through in this All Star game because he's the lone Golden State Warrior in this. There's nobody else. No Draymond, no Clay, obviously, because he's
No,
with Dallas.
no Jimmy Butler.
Nope. No Andrew Wiggins, because now he's with Miami. But, you know, all the weight of the world, basically, or however you want to say it, is on Steph Curry. If he does not come through, sorry, LA, sorry, Phoenix. I say the NBA should just get rid of All Star Weekend because
I think this is their last chance, and I think the players know it. I could be wrong. I think something inside me tells me there's a reason we should watch Sunday night. I'm not so sure about the skills competition. The 3 point contest is what it is. 3 point shooting. The dunk contest, who cares? But I think Sunday night those players are actually going to play.
yeah, because all we're asking, you don't have to make it look like an actual regular season game or an actual playoff game, but can you give more effort? Like, make it look like it's a practice or something, not
If
just.
if I was the NBA this year, I would have changed the rules of the All Star game, and I would have tried out the new rule change they're talking about. Maybe you add in a 4 point line. Maybe you shrink the shot clock. Maybe whatever they want to do. Maybe you play the European rules and no goaltending. Maybe you bring back the hand check. That to me, like, you use the All Star game for that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the NBA, I believe, has talked about reducing the quarters from
That's what
12.
I mean. Try that in the All Star game. See how it works.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just adding on to what you're saying.
I for the let me say this, for the NBA's sake, I hope it's a good All Star weekend, because if this All Star weekend goes as bad as you think, and probably as bad as I fear it might, and I hope it doesn't, I mean, we already, shows like ours, and we do it too, and we're guilty of it, and we've had this talk in our Vultures Live meetings. We talk a lot of football from August to February. We barely talk NBA. If this All Star game goes terrible, there will be no NBA talk till about April.
I would agree with you. Um, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I'm
Um,
not saying we won't talk NBA. Basically, what I'm telling you is everything we'll talk about will be for naught,
yeah,
because the NBA needs. Look, I was the biggest hater of Rob Manfred and baseball's adjustments. They all worked, and people like me that were very traditional, very old school, didn't like the pitch clock, didn't like the stolen bases. Guess what? It all worked. The NBA needs to make a seismic change. I don't know what it is. They need to get interest back in the regular season prod. The other thing is, even the great players like Victor Wembanyama, to me, the NBA is not even marketing them as well as they could. These young players are not being marketed like the Stephs, like the LeBrons, like the Kevin Durants. The NBA is still holding on to those guys. We have Anthony Edwards. As much as I don't think he's a superstar, you do have Jason Tatum in Boston. You have Shea Gilders Alexander. You have everybody down in Houston. You have Wemby, as I mentioned. Like, to me, that needs to be the focus of this All Star. I know what you're saying, Steph Curry, Golden State. I get it. NBA, please talk about your young players, because you're not doing as good of a job as you used to. Do you agree with me?
100%. It feels like the NBA is still like holding on to guys like Steph, guys like LeBron, guys like Kevin Durant. It feels like they're kind of waiting for that shoe to drop.
I
Oh,
I I said this, so it's funny, right? Because so on Thursday, I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but on Brandon's World, it's already been recorded. I am doing a top 10 NBA teams most under pressure, not the best teams, not the top 10, whatever. It's just the teams most under pressure to win the NBA Finals this year. And I said in that recording, you know who we don't talk about anymore? Shockingly,
us?
just the NBA as a general. Who is a star that I did not mention in my soliloquy just a minute ago? Who is a star who we don't
Giannis.
even think about? Giannis, yes. We don't even think. Giannis a couple years ago was undisputably the best player in the world. We don't even think of him now as top five, I would argue.
And we should be talking about Joel Embiid in that same breath.
Oh, I said I'm done. I don't even have them in the championship window. Joel Embiid's too hurt. Paul George hurt. Who cares? Their season's over.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree with you.
So, I mean, but to your point, you have Embiid, you have Giannis. I mean, and all we talk about is Jokic, Luka, Shea, Tatum, because Boston's so good. Um, even Jalen Brunson. I feel like more people talked about Jalen Brunson last year than Giannis.
I would agree with you. And I think if Amen Thompson continues this track, more people are going to talk about him than
So he's
Giannis.
an interesting one, because I don't think Houston knows. I don't forget if I was talking to you about it, if I was talking
You
to Fitz
did.
about it.
You did
I
talk
don't
to me.
I don't think Houston knows who their best player is. I kind of think it's Jalen Green. I love Amen Thompson. I think Jalen Green and Sengun are probably their two best, but I think Amen's probably your third. But to your point, like, Amen could be the best. Like, on some nights, even as great as Shea is, Shed Holmgren, when he's healthy, is the best in Oklahoma City.
And don't forget about Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these teams now, yes, you have to have your dynamic duos, but you also have to have those complementary players around them to make these championship teams.
Well,
Like,
look at the last two NBA champions. So Denver had their superstar Nikola Jokic. Their second best player was Corey Jamal Murray. And I thought Aaron Gordon was absolutely their third best player. And he was the perfect glue guy for that team. And you can make an argument for Michael Porter as well. Boston, you had Tatum and Brown, who were clearly 1 and 2. They were a little bit more debatable who was 1 and who was 2. But Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis were the two big glue guys. I think Houston and Oklahoma City probably have one or two of those big glue guys. I don't know. I feel like Oklahoma City's good enough to make the finals this year. I feel like Houston's probably a year away. I just think they're probably one more player off. The wild card in all of it is obviously Luka and LeBron and what they can do in the playoffs.
so let me ask you this. Based off of what you were saying about having those two players and then that glue guy, do you think our hometown Cavaliers have that recipe?
I said it from the first week of the regular season when I watched this Cavs team and they started 15-0. This Cavs team is finals or bust. I think the biggest problem I could see with our team is we have to definitively make Evan Mobley our number 2 best player. To me, Darius Garland needs to become the third guy. Mobley needs to become the second guy. I think once they figure that out, this Cavs team will be very, very good. And I think the only team that could beat them in a 7-game series in the East is Boston.
I would agree. Um,
Do you agree with me though that like Mobley to me, like I think we have to have an undisputed second best player. I think it should be Mobley and not Garland.
I would agree with you. I although I can make an argument that Mobley could be more of that glue guy and you could have Garland and Mitchell be your top two.
In
That
terms of points, probably yes, but Mobley will set the tone on the defensive end of the floor.
and that's why I'm saying he could be more of that glue guy. Um, although if you want to make the case Jared Allen could be more of the glue guy,
I think I'll say this. I know Boston beat the Cavs pretty bad a couple weeks ago, whatever that was on that Tuesday night. I think it's because Evan Mobley did not play the game that he's been playing all year. I think if he plays the way he should play, the Cavs are the best team in basketball.
and our bench forgot to show up in that game besides Sam Merrill.
And now you have a legit wing in DeAndre Hunter, which the Cavs have not had since LeBron left in 2018.
Yes, and I have been asking for the Cavs to get a legitimate wing. And you know what? Yes, he got 5 fouls, but DeAndre Hunter gave us 12 points. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And hey, I'll give you. I want to give the rookie credit too. Jalen Tyson, since he's gotten more minutes, I've been more and more impressed with him.
I wonder, just real quickly, as we sort of bring this back to NBA All-Star Weekend, and the Cavs sort of fit into this whole conversation as well. Is the NBA, we talked about this last year, right? Last year was supposed to be the transition period for the NBA. LeBron was out of the playoffs. Steph was out of the playoffs. KD was out of the playoffs. It sort of felt like they went for the transformation last year, and now the younger teams are coming afloat. But I think the NBA's problem is your Shays of the world, your Tatums, even I think a Donovan Mitchell, even your Jokic's. They don't want to be the face of the league. And I think that is the difference between the NBA of 10 years ago and the NBA of today, and why the NBA seems so similar is because all of these players, big men, small guys, they all play similar games. And the margin of victory and the separation from the great teams, the good teams, is smaller because we don't have that. LeBron is clearly the best player, or Michael, or Larry and Magic. We don't have that anymore.
I would agree. It almost, you talked about the transition. It feels like the NBA is waiting for the new TV deal to kick in to do something.
That's the thing I was going to ask you. Is there I think the word is fundamental. I can never say that word correctly. Some value in the fact that this is like TNT's last sort of swan song, if you will, because even though everyone's been watching the playoffs, this is sort of the last time where all fans can come together. And basically, it's a little bit of a miniature goodbye, in my opinion, to TNT this weekend.
Yeah, I would agree. Even though the TNT guys, as I understand it, are coming to ESPN, I believe that's the case.
They are, but I don't know what the deal is going to be. Where if they're going to mix it with Countdown, if it's going to be its own show, if it's only going to be for the playoffs. Like, we don't know the answers to that, and plus the broadcasts are obviously going to change. And
Yes.
I don't care what ESPN says. You and I both know whatever they get their hands on outside of Pat McAfee, they touch.
Yeah. I although I've heard them say Stephen A is not going to join them for that.
Well, again, they say that, and then who
Yeah,
knows?
but I think once the NBA gets their TV deal sorted, and it kicks in, you're gonna see Vegas and Seattle come into the league in the next
Yeah.
2 to 3 years.
We should do a fun topic. This is me brainstorming out loud here as we end tonight's show. We should do a fun topic. Maybe not next week. Maybe we could if you want to do it. What's the NBA going to look like in 5 years?
I'm down.
That would be a fun topic, I think.
All right.